Hi everyone, the Supreme Court is Trash here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Petrol Girls record, Baby. This is the third full-length album from London-based rock outfit Petrol Girls. First time hearing their stuff here, and honestly, pretty quickly listening to this, I was blown away, as this is truly a record for our current times in terms of tone, messaging, and righteous anger. Such a heavy, forward-thinking, and versatile sound for a punk album, too, as stylistically this record very much has a foot in the old and the new. Of course, with this being a punk album from the UK, Petrol Girls are very easily able to tap into that snide, crass, snotty tone that some of the best bands from that country have. But by that same token, the band seems equally as indebted to the American Riot Grrrl movement in terms of their mid-paced riffs, sass, and feminist rage. Occasionally, the angular riffs and leads on this thing read like something from a 2000s era post-hardcore LP too. And on top of that, the production on this thing is sick. These tracks are laced with gargantuan and very rough guitar tones. Very intense vocal performances too that range from melodic, like with the urgent and soaring vocal harmonies on the track Fight for Our Lives, or the explosive closing moments of Feed My Fire. So there is versatility there, but also this isn't a super long record either. Nothing really overstays its welcome with this thing clocking in at 34 minutes. This LP is essentially trying to hit you with a bold and thoughtful message in as fast a time as possible, and pounds it in hard with drums and guitars that are pushed to the limit just to make sure that you get it. Now, sometimes it's also just the wit displayed on these tracks that catches me, like with the opening bars on the song Preachers. There's a lot of preachers, but I don't see no saints. A lot of fingers pointing, palms sweating under red paint, the idea of being caught red-handed, but also being the accuser. But yeah, essentially an excellent reflection on public condemnation, damnation, and lack of nuance as a theme is also explored on the track one or the other, presenting these rigid dichotomies as if someone must either be a victim or an abuser, a man or a woman. Themes of division also play out on the song Clowns too, and I think there's a lot that can be gleaned out of the cutting lyrics and devastating snark on this track, about existing in an ignorantly blissful dream of good intentions, and adopting centrism as a political safe space out of a need to not be controversial or not be rubbing people the wrong way, going against the grain. Meanwhile, in our authoritarian times, as this record says, that's just allowing the bastards to run the place. Now, if you're looking for an even bolder statement on this LP, you have the track Baby, I Had an Abortion. Between the droning, distorted tones on this track and the heavy-ass drums, this thing hits as hard as something like out of Swan's early discography. Or maybe an Idols album with calls of whose life are you pro? Whose do you want to control? Meanwhile, the gang vocals on the hook of Baby, I had an abortion, and the snarling guitar leads are fantastic. That proclamation being made in a mocking tone and in such a way to where it's sure to anger any pro-lifer, which I think is necessary given that the verses illustrating the absurdity of their position will go over their heads. Then the song Unsettled is a really interesting reflection on love and relationships. Rather than settling, we are unsettling. Topically exploring modern romance as if it is a mold or a category to fall into with restrictions, with lyrics mentioning wanting to be held but not held back. It's a powerful statement on the ways in which love can be restricting, even paralyzing if not engaged in a way that is equitable and healthy. Though there also seems to be this nagging fear of commitment and things kind of breaking off and failing at some point and wanting to finish things prematurely in order to avoid that. The next two tracks on this LP feature vocals from Janie Starling, a feminist organizer and former vocalist of the band Dreamnails. The first of these two tracks, Fight for Our Lives, features these heavy, just crushing industrial guitar tones and drums, which I think is very fitting for the song because it sounds like a goddamn war. Definitely a response to current times and the ongoing systematic violence against trans people, sex workers, undocumented women. Violent by Design is your classic punk cops are shit screed. I think it shouldn't be news to anyone that they are not here to protect you, they're here to protect power as an institution. The groovy drums and riffs on this track have almost a 90s alt-rock feel to them, but done so much harsher and more aggressively. I also love the quirky, girly vocal breakdowns that pop in here and there. There to make us safe, keep us in our place, criminals must pay, so do what they say. And yeah, I'm loving the bounce back and forth between the poetic sarcasm and also the enraged lead vocals that are just making salient points and asking the right questions. Sick and Tired's essentially an all of the above rundown of everything weighing down on the band, from health issues to backaches to no breaks, having to constantly protest against injustice and violence against women, dealing with fake allies that don't actually have their best interests at heart. Keep in mind, as I'm running through these tracks and the various topics they dive into, drums, riffs, vocals, performances, writing across the board is all killer, kick-ass, detailed, heavy, colorful, textured, truly more going into this punk record than most. And with the closer Bones, we have a more epic finish than you would expect for most punk LPs, with grand group chorus harmonies calling out, "Take away the noise and I am Bones, built the rhythms of my life on all this," which reminds me of the sometimes cinematic grandiosity that you might get off of a Fucked Up album when they were at their creative and conceptual peak back in the day, though I've never been much for Fucked Up. However, I do enjoy this quite a bit. But yeah, overall I thought this was a kick-ass and necessary album. Some of the most fiery punk I've heard in a while, and damn, I just reviewed this freaking Soul Glow record too. The most major issue I had on any single track here was probably on Feed My Fire, where the transition into the more melodic vocal passages is a bit awkward. Not only that, but the melody itself is odd and kind of slippery, and I'm not really sure if even the band itself has that tight of a grip of it. But the intensely performed guitars and drums still are a treat, especially toward the finish. But yeah, I love this thing. I love the hell out of this thing. Once again, found it super impressive on first listen, and as I dove into it further and further and further, it just kind of kicked more ass and said more very pertinent things. And I hope you guys can take away as much from it as I currently am. I'm feeling a light to decent 9 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Petrol Girls, forever.